Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development and Local Government, Senator McCarthy. The issue of fuel security has been a hot topic in recent weeks, but a key issue that has been forgotten is the government's seemingly mothballed strategic fleet. In 2022, Labor pledged a 12-vessel strategic fleet to end Australia's decades-long over-reliance on foreign shipping. But here we are 4 years later, during escalating global conflict and supply chain disruptions, and not a single ship is sailing an Australian flag under the strategic fleet. Minister, can you provide us with a status update on the strategic fleet if it indeed is still going ahead?
Thank you, Senator Payman. And before I call the Minister, I'm going to ask for silence. And Senator Henderson, speaking directly over me when I'm calling for silence. I do want to remind the chamber this is Senator Payman's question. Senator McCarthy.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Payman, for the question. Every ship that enters our ports carries something we rely on, President. Fuel, vehicles, building materials, electrical goods and furniture, and the list goes on. Around 99% of our international exports and imports move by sea, so when we invest in our maritime sector, we're really investing in Australia's economic security and resilience. The Australian government has made this a central focus of our transport and infrastructure agenda, and we're rebuilding Australia's shipping capability, including by establishing a strategic fleet, Senator Payman. We're reforming coastal trading laws and we're modernising regulations so the sector can operate sustainably and competitively. And recent events, yes, have certainly reminded us all just how fragile and precious global supply chains can be. And from the current fuel disruptions to the COVID-19 pandemic to natural disasters and overseas conflicts, the disruptions we've witnessed have underscored how vital it is that Australia can rely on its own shipping capability. And that's why our government is establishing a strategic fleet for Australia. This initiative will provide a core group of Australian-flagged and crewed vessels that will be ready to operate commercially.
Please resume your seat. Senator Payman.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister, for the answer. I'm specifically asking for the update
Senator
in terms of
Payman,
the 12
why are you
vessels.
On your feet?
It's a point of order on direct relevance.
Thank you. The Minister is being directly relevant. Senator Payman. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Vessels that will be ready to operate commercially in normal times but available to the government when emergencies arise, whether it's a cyclone like we've had recently in the Northern Territory and now WA is experiencing, a global incident or a disruption to an international trade route. These ships will be there to move the supplies our country needs most without delay. So our long-term goal is a fleet of 12 Australian-flagged and crewed vessels. And to begin, we've funded a 5-year strategic fleet pilot program and starting with 3 ships.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Payman, first supplementary.
Minister, in 2024, Minister King announced a 5-year $21.7 million program to create this fleet, citing the need for a resilient domestic maritime sector. How much of this $21.7 million has been released to bolster Australia's supply chain sovereignty?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, in late 2024, Senator Payman, Minister King commissioned a review of coastal trading and shipping registration laws so we can modernise the system and better support Australian-flagged vessels. And while the strategic fleet will provide invaluable training opportunities and employment pathways, it's just one part of the Albanese government's plan to build a very strong, fairer and more modern maritime sector. We know that this is exactly what Minister King is working on, Senator. We've seen that in the last few years our support for the maritime sector has also included $10 million in the $30 million Australian-Singapore low-emissions technology program to drive deployment in low-emissions fuels and clean hydrogen. The Hydrogen Head Start program and additional support for investment in renewable hydrogen through the Hydrogen Productive Tax Incentive, which is worth an estimated $6.7 billion over 10 years.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Payman, second supplementary.
Minister, you haven't answered the question of when we will see ships on our coast, and this leads me to my next question of, has the Labor government broken its contracts with unions and workers like the Maritime Union of Australia when it makes promises like the strategic fleet in the lead-up to an election but fails to deliver upon them?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. In fact, obviously the senator hasn't been listening. I actually answered your questions, Senator Payman, so it makes your final question actually irrelevant.